All right, here come the people. Lots of names I know. I see Colm and Nicole and Patrick, and lots of names I don't know, but happy to have you here. I'm going to give it another couple of seconds while um, the audio kicks in. Sometimes it takes a little while for that audio to kick in, so I don't want you to miss all of the important information that I'm going to have here at the beginning. 10:31. Let's start this. So welcome to our September 17th presentation at the Lighting Design Lab. We have our sister division, Customer Energy Solutions here at Seattle City Light, bringing you really good information about some of the programs that you probably are all familiar with. And then a special Trade Ally program announcement that's been in the works for a while. All right. To start things off, though, today, get kind of a soft start here and get to know you guys. Um, we ask that you join our Slido. The join number after you scan that QR code on your phone, or you can open up another browser window and or tab, or I've got 97 tabs of my own. Go to slido.com and type that join link in. And then we've got, I think it's 4 quick questions so that we know who we're talking to today. Um, give that a minute for you guys to log in because I think you do have to put your name in for that. Name and email. I think that's all I set it up for. I hope that's all I'm required you to do. We don't need a million pieces of information from you. Okay. So the first question is, what type of company do you work for? And as I was uh, saying that last piece, I realized I did not introduce myself. I'm Katie at the Lighting Design Lab. I've been at City Light for 13 years or something like that. Started in conservation, which is now Customer Energy Solutions. So some of these names actually, I remember you guys from calling the Energy Advisors line. All right, so we've got a few people in the poll. Very good, very good. Thank you for participating. And it should show us in a second what people have, or maybe it's an equal distribution and that's why it's looking like this. We've got 8 people in the poll. I'm going to give it another couple seconds before I click to the next question. Thank you for joining and participating. Okay, oops. I'm going to click to the next one. And what types of services does your company offer? Here for this next question. Are we talking to heating, cooling folks, refrigeration folks? Do you do insulation? Do you do windows? Do you do it all? Thank you for answering. I don't know why it's not showing the, I'm getting answers, but I don't know why it's not showing who's answering what. Let me click through to the next one and then I'll go backwards and see if it shows, if it re-renders. And what sector? Do you do more small commercial? Do you do industrial? Do you do other? I'm really disappointed that it's not showing the results. When we first logged on, our cameras weren't working, so I guess there always has to be one thing that doesn't work. Thank you for participating in that question. We're going to go to the next one, and I believe this is the final question. Yeah, the DBE status, if your company has one. Would be good to know. All right. Let me click back and see here if it will. No, and it's still not showing the results. Oh, huh. Okay. Well, I will. Well, that's a bummer. Sorry about that. Thanks for participating. Those will be recorded in Slido, but we can't see them right now. Welcome to the Lighting Design Labs webinar. If you have not taken one with us before, here are the procedures. You're all on mute for the duration to kind of just keep things moving along. But you are certainly welcome to ask questions at any time using the questions tab. Look for that little question mark icon in your toolbar. Click on that and it'll send a question to me and Emma, who I'll introduce in just a second. And we'll get answers to you, or we'll ask the rest of the panel to get an answer for you. Um, Slido does allow you to ask questions. Let's not use that. One, because it doesn't appear to be functioning properly, but two, since we're in GoTo, it's just easier for us to monitor questions in the GoTo app. This webinar is being recorded. We record all of our webinars for posterity, and they're available on the Lighting Design Lab website within about a week. So you can share this with colleagues later on, or go back and get some of the information that might have gone over quickly or whatever. And there's a survey after class that we would like for you to take to help us improve, give us some ideas on what technologies you'd like us to give you guys information on, whether an earlier time slot in the day is better for you or a later time slot in the day. Um, it's all good information for us to know. And just real quick, the Line Design Lab is a program within City Light. We've been around for a long, long time. If you're a lighting contractor, you may have heard of us or been to our facility to see our mock-up space. We don't have that space anymore, and we have expanded to include more of a whole building focus on electric technologies. We are rebranding again. We did rebrand, and our name got stolen out from under us. So it's another few months before we get a rebrand. We won't be called Lighting Design Lab anymore. So it will reflect better all of the offerings we're bringing to you. For instance, we got Mike Dietrich, big in net zero space, to come give a presentation at South Seattle College. And it's going to be our first in-person offering since March 2020, April 2020. We get to have 60 people. So if you come grab a coffee and a muffin, and we can all see each other in person that day. And then 3 are in the works. And below are some events that Shane's actually going to talk about later, so I will not spend any more time with that. And with that, several minutes later, we've gotten to the actual program. I am going to introduce Emma Johnson. She is going to be the moderator for the duration. I'll be in the background, but Emma is your host. Thank you, Emma. I'm going to go off mic and camera now. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie and the lab for hosting this presentation. Really excited to bring to you some key sets of information about some of our programs. The reason that we're bringing this presentation to you is to try to encourage you to act now for 2024. get your projects in, get your incentive rebates in, make those sales, and it allows us to claim savings for this calendar year, which is really important for the utilities goals and meeting our community commitments. So we'll run through 4 programs today: Midstream HVAC and Water Heating, which is the regional program; Lighting to Go, which is a commercial lighting retrofit focused program for lighting distributors; new construction changes, and announcements about a new Trade Ally program. At the end, we'll have an open Q&A, but feel free to type questions in the chat. There's a question button, not the chat button, and I can make sure those presenters answer your questions after their presentation. So without further ado, we'll go into Midstream HVAC and Water Heating. And I'd like to introduce our Seattle City Light Program Manager, Lars Hendrickson. He'll talk to you about his role at City Light and introduce the program implementer. Lars, take it away.
Thank you, Emma. I'm Lars Henriksen. I've been with Seattle City Light about 16 years. I'm managing efficiency programs the whole time. I've been managing our HVAC Plus midstream program for about 3 years now. And I mostly, from your perspective, I'll be behind the scenes because we have a great team that's working directly with contractors and distributors from Energy Solutions. And the prime contact for most of you will be Zach Bouquet. And Zach, he's been with Energy Solutions since 22. Before that, he's got a pretty extensive experience working with HVAC. He's worked for Carrier, Siemens, Tips USA, Airco. He's also worked with Energy Print and Building Advice. So he's been in the business for at least 15 years, I think, and just a great asset to the team. And I look forward to hearing what Zach has to say. So
thank you, Lars. Zach. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. You want to go to the next slide? And I apologize, the slides are not advancing for me. There we go. So today, as Lars mentioned, I will be presenting on the PNW Midstream HVAC and Water Heating Program. So to begin, let's do an overview of the program, and then we can jump into rebates. As Emma mentioned, this is a regional program. So the PNW Midstream HVAC and Water Heating Program is provided by Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD. And really the goal of this program is to increase the sales and adoption of high-efficient HVAC and water heating equipment into the market, and also to encourage the stocking of high-efficient equipment by distributors so it's available to you, contractors, for your installations. The main goals of the program are to influence the sales of high-efficiency equipment and really to provide contractors a tool to help you upsell to higher efficient equipment. And as mentioned in the previous slide, we want to encourage distributors to stock high-efficient equipment so it's available, especially in like an emergency replacement situation. The program is really designed to benefit multiple stakeholders. So distributors and contractors benefit as it helps you be more competitive in selling high-efficient equipment, and really, help you differentiate from your competitors. And your end customers benefit with more high-efficient equipment, saving them money on the purchase of that equipment and also on the utility bills. So, again, we want you to use this as a sales tool to help you grow your business. Typically high-efficient equipment is more profitable for you, and we really strive to make this program as simple for you as possible. So we talk about midstream rebates, and really what is a midstream rebate program? For those of you that maybe aren't aware of the jargon here, In the world of rebates, there's a lot of different program types. For example, upstream rebate programs run through manufacturers, and midstream programs like this run through distributors, and downstream programs might go directly to an end user from the utility. So for example, many of us have gotten those mailers from our utilities where maybe if you upgrade to a smart thermostat in your home, you can get a $50 rebate. As Emma mentioned, there's many reasons why Seattle City Light is looking for energy savings, but really the midstream program helps achieve that, as distributors can really influence a majority of equipment sales by working with their contractors to really get more high efficiency sales equipment into the market. And as this is a midstream program, again, it runs through distributors. So as you participate, if you're a contractor, you submit that information for the rebate to that participating distributor that you bought the equipment from. And we'll discuss that more in a further slide. So for now, let's dive into the rebates for the HVAC and water heat program. So to start, we have air-cooled heat pumps. These are heat pumps under 5.4 tons. They can be installed in residential or commercial spaces. For the 2024 program, we allow heat pumps that are only SEER and HSPF rated, as well as HRI2 or SEER 2 and HSPF 2 or dual rated equipment. So if we look at these tables, let's use table 2 as an example. So if you're quoting a job for a new construction project with a heat pump that has a SEER 2 of 15.3 and an HSPF 2 of 9, that would fall under the Tier 2 rebate, and your customer could be eligible for a rebate of $400. Keep in mind the requirement that they receive electric service from either Seattle City Light or Snohomish PUD. I would also point out that you need to meet or exceed both the SEER 2 and HSPF 2 requirements, and that puts you in that tier, for example, that Tier 2. I would also point out that in 2024, Tier 1 is only available for retrofit projects. So for heat pump rebates, there is a limit of 1 rebate per residence, but for commercial applications, there is no limit. So for example, if you sold an apartment complex and there was 100 units, each of those individual units can get 1 rebate. If there are 5 heat pumps in a clubhouse, for example, and that would be a commercial space, all 5 heat pumps can receive a rebate if they qualified. And these rebates are based on outdoor units. So in that example of 5 heat pumps for the clubhouse, if there were 5 outdoor units, that's what it qualifies off of. So there would be 5 rebates. I'd also point out that for the sales you make that qualify for rebates, the distributor would pay the rebate to you, and then you would pass that rebate down to the end user. Let's move on to heat pump water heaters. So heat pump water heater rebates, again, are available for customers that receive electric service from Seattle City Light or Snohomish PUD. And these also can be installed in commercial or residential spaces. The requirement, though, is that the heat pump water heater is under 120 gallons and then meets the NEA requirements listed here. For commercial and residential, this only applies to retrofit projects. For the commercial, if you install into a commercial space, you're allowed any NEA rated heat pump water heater. For residential, as you can see on the screen, it needs to be a Tier 3 or a Tier 4. You'll also notice that on the far right, there's a contractor spiff. So that spiff goes right to the contractor, and the customer pass-through goes to the end user. So for an example, if it was a commercial heat pump water heater, you would pass that $600 rebate to the end user, and that $100 spiff would go to the contractor. And then finally, let's take a look at ECM circulator pumps. ECM pump rebates are only available for Seattle City Light, not Snohomish PUD. And this does include ECM pumps for commercial and residential applications. To qualify, you can see the qualifications here on the screen. For commercial, it does depend on the size of the pump, so there are some limitations there. For residential, it includes all pump sizes. And then just like with heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, the pass-through rebate indicated would be passed through to the end user. Next slide. So at the end of the day, we do try to keep this program as simple as possible, but there is some information that's required for you to submit to your distributor in order to receive a rebate, and that information is listed here on the left. So taking a look at this, the address is required. As mentioned, this is a program put on by Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD, so we need to verify that the end user receives electric service from one of those utilities. We need to know the building type and project type. As you noticed in the rebate tables, there are some qualifications based on that. So for example, it's a single family home and it's new construction. Providing your distributor with an HRI number for heat pumps is really the simplest way for you to get that information to your distributor. As with the HRI number, you do not need to provide any other model number for the equipment. If you don't know it, you can provide the model information to your distributor. I would note that for heat pumps, you would need to include both model numbers, the indoor and outdoor unit, as that pairing creates the efficiencies and relates back to HRI. As far as replacement heat pumps, if you're doing a project for Snohomish PUD, we do ask for the replacement heat type. In other words, what kind of heat type are you replacing with the heat pump retrofit? So for example, they had a gas furnace before the installation of the heat pump. If you're installing into a commercial space, then we do require the company name. So for example, Bob's Burgers. And finally, we need to know the invoice number and invoice date. And I would point out that the invoice number and date is the invoice from the distributor, not the invoice to the end user. And also, every distributor that you work with might have their own process or system for you to submit all this information to them. So, if you're unaware, if you haven't participated, or you're working with a new distributor you haven't worked with before, reach out to them and they can assist you in understanding, how you're going to get that information over to them so they can submit for a rebate. And just to wrap up this presentation, if you have any sales that qualify, Emma mentioned we want to make sure that, we get these rebates in. There's no time like the present to get your rebates submitted. The program with qualified sales, you can actually go back from today or through the end of the year, from January 1st of this year, to submit for those rebates. And again, as a reminder, this program runs through distributors, so that January 1st date is the date of the invoice from the distributor to the contractor, and not the invoice date from the contractor to the end user. All the rebates that we showed on the screen and qualifications are effective for all of 2024. The program will continue into 2025. And if there are updates to qualifications or rebate amounts, or that will be communicated to the market, to distributors in Q4 of this year. And then Emma just posted in the chat a website, and it's listed here as well. We do have a contractor website, contractor facing. It has up-to-date rebate tables that you can download, qualified products lists, a zip code tool to help you determine, potentially if that, building or home falls within Snohomish PUD or Seattle City Light, and as well as FAQs that might help answer questions that you might have. And with that, I am going to close up. I appreciate the opportunity to present, and thanks everyone for attending today.
Awesome. Zach, just a few questions for you. One is, you talked about the residentially sized equipment. Can you speak a little bit to whether this program includes commercial equipment?
Yeah, so this program is for residentially sized equipment. So it would include, that's why the 5.4 tons and below is what is included. There are other programs for commercial, but it runs in a different route. So this is a residentially sized program.
Great. Yeah, and if you have questions about commercially sized equipment, you can reach out to our program manager or Zach directly to ask more about that program. I guess the second question I have for you, Zach, is do you anticipate that equipment sold in 2025 will need to meet the HSPF2 or SEER2 ratings? Any decisions there made?
Yeah, so we've allowed for the past 2 years for the HSPF and SEER equipment to be included in the program as distributors may have had stock or contractors may have had stock to sell through. Starting in 2025, only SEER 2, HSPF 2, or dual rated equipment would qualify.
Excellent, thank you. I guess the final question is, can you talk a little bit about water heater sales and the purchase date from distributors, if there is any guidance around purchasing those water heaters in the calendar year that might not be sold to the end use customer until potentially the following year due to stocking? I know that's a little bit of a complicated question, but
Yeah, typically the program does allow a little leeway in having submissions. So, and I'm not sure what that will be for next year. We'll have to work with Seattle City Light to make that determination. But we do understand that in lots of cases, you might buy 100 water heaters or 50 or 25, and you might not sell through all of them. So typically there is a grace period of a few months the following year to still have those units qualify. You know, what we don't want to have happen is have you purchase these anticipating a rebate and then have that not work out. So there are limitations. You know, we don't allow it to last forever, but we do try to accommodate that.
excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I don't see any more questions from the audience, so I will transition to our Lighting to Go program and wanted to just introduce our Seattle City Light program manager, Walker Dodson. Walker will tell you about himself and introduce the program implementer. Walker, take it away.
Great, thank you, Emma. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I'm Walker Dodson. I'm a program manager at City Light, running the commercial and industrial lighting retrofit program and the midstream lighting program. I also run the multifamily weatherization program. If anybody has any questions about that, please contact the energy advisors, and we can get you more information on that. I've been with City Light for about 8 years, a little over 8 years, and program manager for the past 2+ years. I started as an EMA doing field and project work, so it's good to see some familiar names in attendance today and see some new names of distributors and suppliers that I haven't had a chance to meet yet. I'm going to hand this over to Aaron Leatherwood from Energy Solutions to talk more about the Lighting to Go program. Aaron is a senior project manager at Energy Solutions. He's supporting the regional midstream lighting program for the past 2 years. Aaron has over 2 decades in lighting industry experience and 11 years specifically implementing lighting efficiency programs in the Pacific Northwest. So a ton of experience. He's living in Hillsboro, Oregon with his wife, 3 kids, a dog, and 2 cats. So busy guy. Take it away, Aaron.
All righty. Thanks, Walker. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. In this section, we will present information about the Lighting to Go 2024 program year and gain some understanding of where Lighting to Go is headed in 2025 and beyond. Next slide, please. To claim the Lighting to Go discounts, there are several pieces of required information that distributor must submit, including accurate information for the site where the installation takes place. This must be the physical address associated with the business name and contact information. Addresses of the installation contractor, distributor, or other inaccurate site information may result in delayed or rejected claim processing and payments. The PSE transition to a new implementer this past June likely does not substantially impact installation contractors or customers, but distributors must now submit PSE lighting claims to a different implementer, and there may be differences between the Lighting to Go programs in PSE territory versus City Light and SNOPUD areas, which remain linked and with the same program implementer. Be sure to pay attention to the quantity limits. In order to claim sales up to the quantity limits on multiple days, there must be separate invoices for each day. These limits are in place to encourage larger projects to go through downstream programs, which typically have higher incentives in exchange for additional project information. Reach out to the program representatives for additional information. With the same territory as HVAC, the Lighting to Go program for Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD aims to assist in the sale of high-efficiency lighting equipment through the discount program to help the environment, save customers money on their utility bills, and help installation contractors and distributors upsell more efficient equipment. All current Lighting to Go program information can be found via Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD websites. Simply searching the web for Seattle City Light Lighting to Go will pull up results and access to the program information. For those of you who participate in Seattle City Light, Snohomish PUD, and PSE utility areas, adding links to the different Lighting to Go programs for easy reference on your computers and devices may be a good way of ensuring you're always accessing the most up-to-date information. Please use the updated zip code tool on the program information webpage or through the IRIS claim system for a fast and easy way to determine the majority of utility territories by zip code. Reach out to us anytime for zip codes that have multiple utilities serving it, and we'll be happy to help you determine if the full address is eligible for Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD Lighting to Go program. A few reminders about 2024 end of year information and looking to the future of Lighting to Go. Next slide, please. We aim to keep the Lighting to Go program stable over the course of the program year. However, sometimes changes are required. Please make sure to view the program update emails and have the program information webpage linked to your computers and devices so that you always have access to the most up-to-date information. As always, reach out to us anytime with questions. Get projects completed before the end of the year to make sure that you get the 2024 incentive levels. With the anticipated end of the year rush, we encourage everyone to complete projects and submit claims as early as possible so that claim reimbursements are sent out quickly and before the end of the year. 2025 projects will be subject to any updated requirements and discount levels. Next slide, please. Oop, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself too.
Okay.
There's some important dates there. Definitely want to make sure submitting claims by these dates, and we encourage you to submit them as early as possible so that we can make sure and process everything before the end of the year. And definitely changes coming 1/1/2025, and we'll go into those at a little bit higher level next. We are working diligently to put together the 2025 Lighting to Go program requirements and discount levels. Midstream programs must focus on pushing the envelope and encouraging energy efficient stocking and purchasing choices. When the energy efficient choices become the norm, programs must transition to more efficient options. Lighting to Go will continue its transition away from promoting lamps like TLEDs and HID to LED mogul-based lamps with decreased discounts for those technologies, and continue to shift focus and priority to fixtures with controls, with the most efficient choices receiving the highest discounts. In 2024, we introduced the increased discounts for fixtures with integral controls for troffers, high bays, parking, and stairwell fixture groups, and we anticipate expanding the control offerings in 2025. There were a few hiccups in the product verification for fixtures with controls that some of you may have experienced, but I'm happy to announce that we just finished system updates that will better accommodate the wide range of controls options into the future. In 2029, Washington will prohibit the sale of fluorescent lamps, which will increase the efficiency of stocked products and reduce the ability of Lighting to Go to offer discounts for simple retrofits. We will continue to keep you informed of anticipated program changes in future years, but it is expected that the program will continue its trend towards more controls to remain relevant into the future. Next slide, please. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this morning. I'll pass it back to Emma.
Thanks, Aaron. I do have just one quick question for you. Are there any changes to the type A, B, or C linear lamps that you foresee happening, or higher discount levels that might be sunsetting? Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. There will definitely be a little bit of a rearrangement of the discount levels. As I mentioned, we will continue our trend focusing more on fixtures and controls with higher savings amounts. So you'll see the incentives for lamps and simple retrofits go down a little bit, while fixtures and especially fixtures with controls will continue to are expected to continue to increase. We're hoping to offer far more incent or discounts for the controls and expand that controls offering in 2025. So yes, there will be a little bit of a reshuffle. In some cases, there may be some fixtures that may actually go down to more promote fixtures with controls, especially where it makes most sense in certain applications that controls really just make sense for the majority of applications.
Great. Yeah, controls are king for savings, I think, going forward. A question about claims. So can you speak to the process for submitting claims? Is it through the IRIS system? And then for submitting claims in PSE territory, is it still through the same system?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. PSE did make an implementer transition. So the new implementer has a completely different system. I'm not familiar with it and can't really speak to it, but I would encourage you to reach out to PSE and or the new implementer over there, which is ICF, and make sure you get set up with them in order to still participate in PSE. For Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD, those programs remain the same. No changes on the claim system or where you send claims to. We still are the implementer for Seattle City Light and Snohomish PUD. Those programs still remain kind of a little bit linked so that they will remain similar in the future. And yes, the IRIS claim system is the system to continue submitting claims for those areas.
Great. And when was the cutover date, Aaron, for the new implementer?
They changed, PSE changed over to the new implementer on June 15th of this year.
Great. So you should have received information from your distributor about the new processes.
You should have. And just to interject real quick, if you aren't receiving, we sent out a lot of information about that as the transition was about to occur and after it occurred as a reminder. Please reach out to us if you're not receiving that information. I'd be happy to get you signed up for those newsletters and information. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Aaron. All right, rolling on to new construction. Some big changes here, pretty exciting changes. New construction program manager, Pat Campbell, will be introducing himself and the program changes. Pat, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Pat Campbell. I'm a program manager here at City Light. Been with the utility actually just over a decade. Just had my 10-year anniversary a couple days ago. So, yeehaw. And while I've been here with the utility, I've worn a lot of different hats. I started out as an evaluator. I worked in the change management arena for a while, and then did sort of basically IT project development. So I've kind of been all over the place and landed in a program manager role a couple of years ago around the same time that Walker did. And I am currently in charge of our new construction portfolio and provisionally anyway, helping to usher along our strategic energy management portfolio as well, while the permanent PM is out on parental leave. So that is kind of what I'm doing and where I'm at. And I'm just here to talk to you all today about our new construction programs and kind of the future for them for the remainder of the year, as well as into 2020-25. And as Emma alluded to, there are some changes on the horizon. So if you'd be so kind, next slide, please. Before we get into changes, just a quick summary of kind of what our current programs are and where we service. Right now, we have two sort of major programs in the new construction space. We have our commercial and industrial new construction program, again, servicing the commercial and industrial side of the house. And then we have our multifamily new construction program, which we call Built Smart. Again, managing the multifamily side of the house. And on the left there, it's a little small. You can see our service territory obviously encompasses all of Seattle, but just a reminder that we're actually out in a number of franchise cities as well. in the surrounding area. So just kind of point that out as an FYI, in case you're not aware. So that's our current offerings. Again, there's nothing too crazy about it. Generally speaking, you're telling us what widgets you're putting into your buildings, and we're paying you based upon the incentive rates that we have. There's some whole building element to some of it as well, depending upon the code path that you go. Won't go into details here. If you want that, we can talk offline. It's probably pretty detailed, but for now, we'll keep going. So next slide, please. So what is the purpose of our new construction programs? Again, this is probably not going to blow anybody's socks off, but ultimately the aim of this program here is to influence the design of new construction projects early on to ideally achieve efficiency beyond code. Again, got to be beyond code. That's what we can incentivize. Kind of important to underscore here. Really, we're trying to target that very brief, at least in the life of the building, in a brief window of opportunity when we can really get in and sort of make a sizable influence on a project and install high efficiency equipment at a much lower cost than you would through, say, a more traditional retrofit effort. So if we can get in and strike while the iron is hot, that is kind of what we're hoping to do with these programs and our intention behind it. Next slide, please. And again, it's probably apologies for boring you all. You probably all know this, but it's worth reiterating anyway, so please bear with me while I do it for the 1000th time for y'all. But there are a lot of important benefits to enrolling in these kinds of programs to incorporate sort of energy efficiency measures into the design of your buildings. One, obviously, it's going to help lower your operational costs for whoever ultimately winds up being the owners or the tenants potentially in those spaces. Obviously, going to be improving. Generally speaking, anyway, improving your comfort and the productivity of the occupants in those spaces, which is obviously an attractive proposition for potential buyers or tenants or leasers. And obviously, you want to be meeting local and regional energy codes, but not just the energy codes as well. Building performance standards is something that is also on the horizon for both the state as well as in particular for the city of Seattle. We have our own coming up soon, BEPS, the Building Emissions Performance Standard. So both of these things are on the horizon, and they're going to be affecting a large swath of both commercial and multifamily buildings in the area. So something to keep in mind, and this can help you get ahead of the game there. And then, of course, creating opportunities for the eventual owner to, or whoever is the occupant of those spaces, to potentially advertise and market their sustainability and their sort of social and environmental consciousness when it comes to improving your brand. And so all attractive propositions. And the other thing that I want to emphasize, because I think our folks don't, the unsung heroes of our division are the folks that are out there, our experts, helping you all guys every day get those projects done and completed. Our team of energy management analysts, are providing these services to help you optimize your building systems and your efficiency and helping to establish and achieve high performance. And these folks are a tremendous resource, and it's effectively a free service, so it's worth taking that up for that reason alone anyway. So next slide, please. And with all of the precursor out of the way, what does 2024 look like, and what's 2025 going to have in store for us? Well, for the remainder of 2024, the current programs that we have, the offerings that exist, are going to continue to be offered through 2024 without change. So steady as she goes through the remainder of the year at least. However, when we get into 2025, and I wish I had dates, we have been working on our design and our planning, and I don't have them yet for you, but I anticipate in the next couple of months I will, and when I do, I'll be broadcasting that with a loudspeaker. But at some point in 2025, the plan is for our two current programs, our commercial and industrial and our multifamily programs, to both be sunset. And what does that mean exactly? Well, for any grandfathered projects, which is to say any projects that have a signed participation agreement with us, we got basically a contract established with City Light, you're fine. Your projects are going to be honored to the life of that agreement, as well as any extensions that wind up being necessary as a consequence. But as of that cutoff date, which again, TBD, there will be no more accepting of new projects for those programs. So that will no longer be a possibility. We're not leaving the new construction space at all. We are going to be launching a new program dubbed Energy Design Assistance that was ultimately going to supplant these programs, and will be launched before those programs sunset, so we won't have any gap. And again, dates and whatnot are forthcoming. So next slide, please. So why these changes? Why are we doing what we're doing? Well, there's a number of different factors. First among them being that we are responding to changing market dynamics. Unless you have been under a rock for the better part of a half decade here, you're probably aware that really society as a whole has changed pretty dramatically, not just the new construction sector, although certainly has affected that as well. COVID has done a number on the way that we operate. And we continue to feel those effects, but there are other dynamics that are at play here too. So ultimately, this is an attempt to pivot to meet the moment and understand the changes in the market. Along with that, of course, is updated energy code. We have done a fantastic job, and proud of City Light for continuing to even support the revising of the energy code and to continue to push the limits of what is green and what is environmentally responsible. But with that comes a narrower band of what's possible for us to incentivize above code. So understanding that is our new dynamic, we're pivoting in response to that. We also want to make it a little less administratively burdensome for our participants. There is so much about new construction in particular that is just irreducibly complex. And so to the extent that we can reduce the unnecessarily complex elements of it, that is sort of a goal and an aim with this particular effort. And so my hope is that we can, again, reduce the burden, make it a little bit easier, and make it a little more appealing for folks to be able to apply. We also want to be a little more proactive in our outreach and our marketing. Traditionally, we've had the good fortune of being able to work with the biggest, largest projects that exist in the area, and kind of go for the comparatively anyway, low-hanging fruit, and to be able to meet our kilowatt-hour savings goals and our other metrics that we track internally. But sort of our goals and our objectives have expanded, and in addition to sort of the market changing. And so, one of our goals and our missions here is to expand the swath of projects that we pull into our program. It's my goal to try and get as many new construction projects that exist in our territory at least aware of these programs and what we have on tap for folks, with the hope of ideally incorporating our process into your guys' own as a matter of course. And so that's what we're hoping for. And with that comes an attempt to achieve greater equity and accessibility across our customer base, and to really in particular help with affordable housing, which I think is an area that we have traditionally not serviced to the degree that we need to, and I think we are changing that, and we have been over the last few years, and we're going to continue to do so. And this is just one more piece of that puzzle to try and accomplish and achieve. Next slide, please. All right, so that's a little bit of the why, so like a little bit more of the what. So energy design assistance, what is it? Well, ultimately, it's a whole building energy modeling based approach. One of the key elements of it here today, rather than go into sort of the details, some of which are not fleshed out yet, is that this is a program that's going to be offered for projects that are permitted under the 2018 SEC or beyond. So it's not something that is, if you're 2015 or before, this is not a program that's going to be for you, and that's going to have implications for if you've got a project that currently exists but doesn't necessarily have a contract with us. We'll talk about that in a moment here, but that does have implications for you. And really, the one of the key elements of the design assistance program is focused on early intervention. We're also going to be working in partnership with a third-party vendor, Willdan, who's working with a couple of other utilities in the region as well. They're both they have a program with both SNOPUD as well as PSE. And the little graphic down below, standard utility practice. I feel kind of defense about that. It's certainly not what we strive for. Sometimes we wind up in a situation where we are engaging with folks a little bit later than we would like to in the design process, and so we are not able to exert as much of an influence on the design of the building as we'd like. I don't think we're unique in that. I think almost all utilities that have these kinds of programs are struggle in that domain to try and get in early enough. And really what we're hoping to do with EDA is to really emphasize getting on the ground with you all earlier rather than later, so we can really be helping you with design docs, or helping to understand what exactly your intentions for any particular building space is, so that we can help to modify it and achieve your energy efficiency goals. So those are some of the key elements of the design assistance program. Next slide, please. How does it work? What's kind of the high level flow? It's not too different from what our current programs do in terms of the overall workflow. This is again very, very high level, but the general gist is like you would with any of our programs, you're going to be applying, giving us some information about that building up front. We'll be taking that data and going back and doing some modeling to come up with some hypothetical energy efficiency scenarios for the building owner or whoever the key decision makers and stakeholders are to basically take a look at, analyze and assess, and then ultimately sort of select what is sort of the best suite or the best sort of set of strategies for that building to achieve the energy efficiency goals that you have are. We'll sign a contract with y'all. You guys go build, come back, we'll verify to make sure things were built according to the design, or make modifications based upon however things changed when you were actually pouring the mortar and the concrete. And then after everything is trued up, we'll issue incentives. So again, very similar flow to what it is that we offer right now. Again, hoping to reduce some of the administrative burden and some of the paperwork that you all have to do is sort of one of the intentions, without sacrificing the due diligence that we need to take care of as stewards of the ratepayer money that we offer. So next slide, please. When to enroll, again, something I've sort of there's been a theme throughout the presentation here, but really the earlier the better. That's something I'll continue to come to. Ideally, we'd love to be sitting down with you guys during sort of the design development phase of the effort to really just kind of walk through the ways that we can potentially influence those projects. Obviously, if you're a little bit further along, that's still fine. We could still engage you. Maybe everything we offer is not possible. We could still get you a fair bit. When you're getting closer to like equipment purchase, that I won't say no at this point. I come talk to us if there's uncertainty or question, chat with us. We'll try to make something work that we can. But if you're at occupancy and people are in the building, that's kind of at this point it should be a retrofit project. So it's a little too late at that point. But general mantra here is just the earlier the better. So next slide, please. Again, sort of the goals of the program and sort of reflecting the shift both in our sort of strategy as well as sort of the market more broadly. Again, some of our major goals, like early customer interaction is one of them. I've sort of said that ad nauseum here at this point. Don't need to belabor that too much more. But another key element of here is just like we were looking for a more holistic and integrative approach to building design. As a utility, we have traditionally, energy efficiency has been our bread and butter. It's something we've done for decades, but we have really pivoted in the last 10, 15 years towards a lot of other offerings and a lot of other spaces that have only recently become market viable, really. So if we want to know about what you're planning for that building, what sort of your intentions, not just for your energy efficiency goals, but are you planning like some EV charging, right? Is that something that's going to go on in that space? Are you looking at potentially distributed energy resources like solar? Is that something that's going to go on the building? Are you looking for some sort of demand response control systems to be installed? These are all things that we have programs for or developing programs for that ultimately we can use to help you achieve the goals that you have for the building. So really it reflects just a broader vision for the utility. And we hope that this can be a piece that is helping you guys as much as it helps us in terms of achieving those goals. And of course, obviously, we want to achieve energy efficiency. That's not to put that as the second fiddle there. And I think again, we really want to be including that low-income multifamily housing is a key component of it. Really making sure that we can assist with that as much as practicable and possible. Next slide, please. All right, so what does this mean for folks with projects that are possibly floating around either in our pipeline or just out in the ether and we're not yet aware of it? Well, right now, what we're doing is part of the design for the new program and the eventual sunset of the current programs is we're sifting through our pipeline, basically our list of potential leads for good possible candidates for EDA. And we're trying to identify those and starting to reach out to those folks to say, hey, is this a program that you might be interested in, rather than going the one of the current routes that we have. So that's something that we're starting to do. I don't think we've made any calls yet, but it's pretty imminent. I know that some folks have actually engaged us because they are aware of these kinds of programs existing in their region and have inquired with us about them. And so we do have some folks effectively on the waiting list already for that. But ultimately, we're starting to comb through our list, and if you are on a list, or even if you're not, if you've got a project, and again, regardless of whether it's earlier in the process, if it's not on our radar, reach out to us. If it is on our radar, reach out to us. Let's re-engage. Let's see what we can do to get you either into our new programs or through our old programs as of right now. And again, sort of going back to what I mentioned earlier. Projects that are permitted prior to 2018 within the Seattle service, within Seattle, the city of Seattle proper, I should say, are not funded by this new program. And to that end, there is going to be a cutoff date. I don't have it yet. As soon as I do, I will let everybody know. But there is a cutoff date for when we are no longer going to be allowing projects through those programs. So that would mean that if you are not contracted by that date for a 2015 permitted code, or for a 2015 permitted project, the funding goes bye-bye. So I won't drop this on you like with 2 or 3 months. We're going to try and give you guys a reasonable amount of lead time so that you guys can make the right decision for yourselves and for your anybody that you're working with that needs to make those decisions. But if there's any worry or concern, like, act now. The sooner the better. And I will say, for those projects that are within our service territory but outside of Seattle proper, we will be offering that for just the standard Washington State code. So that is also covered. It's really for only those projects that are within the city of Seattle proper that are permitted prior to 2018, that are potentially in a difficult position right now. So next slide, please. Yeah, and again, this is just sort of reiterating what I had just said. If you got a participation agreement with us, regardless of what vintage of code you have, great, good job, no worries. Reach out to us. Again, let's keep the ball rolling on your projects. But again, if you haven't signed an agreement with us and you're with the 2018 Energy Code, you got a lot of flexibility probably. Let's talk. Let's figure out what's the best route for you in terms of our offerings. And again, 2015 or older. Get going. We got to hurry. Not that it's going to be closed tomorrow, but a year is a short amount of time. It goes by like that, especially when we're talking new construction. So let's chat. We won't be unreasonable, and we want to hear from you guys as well about this. So next slide. I think that's the last one, if I recall. But oh yes, yeah. Reaching out, forgive me. So how to reach out to us and enroll in our programs or chat. Got the energy advisors who are rock stars. They're incredible. They know everything about everything. If I ever have any questions, I go to them because I don't know how they're basically like living encyclopedias. That's their number and their email address. If you know an energy management analyst or you have an existing relationship with them or you're already working with one in the context of a project, reach out to them. Obviously, they're always wonderful resources and are rock stars equally as well. And if you want to talk to someone who probably knows the least of all about anything, you can always contact me. So I'm just the charlatan that gets to be the face while they do all the hard work. So thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Awesome, Pat. Well, we're going to put you on the spot for a question.
Perfect. Yeah.
Can you provide some clarity to what Willdan will do as a third party?
Yeah, so they're going to be managing a lot of the day-to-day operations. So they'll be doing a lot of the outreach, putting together, webinars or lunch and learns and that kind of thing. Basically, starting to interact and engage with a lot of the trade allies, and as well as potential business owners, doing a lot of that kind of work. They're also going to be doing the modeling itself, putting together some of the bundles. So they'll be handling a lot of the day-to-day operations for the program, obviously in concert with myself and other folks at the utility, to make sure that we're ultimately in alignment, and operating. We'll still be doing like the payments and that kind of thing, and the contracting, but they'll be doing a lot of the day-to-day work. So good question. Hopefully that answered it.
Great. And can you speak to whether this is a program that's implemented in other areas within the Puget Sound by other utilities, a similar approach, or are we kind of going our own way?
As much as I would love to be able to claim that we're the pioneers here, sadly we are not. PSE and Snowpud both have these programs established. I think Snowpud was the first in 2021, so it's pretty established at this point. Seems to be well received based upon the conversations I've had with folks around the area. So it seems to be a very, very mutually beneficial program for everybody. So yeah, it exists, and it's also around the nation as well. So
awesome. And then one last final question for you is, do certifications increase incentives at all for like these new programs like Built Green or LEED? Or is it really all about the modeling?
No, I think they certainly can, though they might be incorporated into the modeling. So for something like Passive House, for example, that is something that we've explicitly talked about. We're definitely incorporating that into our model and providing those incentives for sure. So I can't speak to any specific certification, whether and what would be offered, but yeah, they would definitely be something that would be incorporated either directly or indirectly through the requirements that they have. So good question.
Excellent. All right. I think we'll wrap it up with the next presenter.
Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Pat. All right. I'm happy to introduce Shane Cow with Resource Innovations. She'll be talking to the launch of a new City Light program for Trade Ally, specifically to better inform our trade allies and get them information they need to make sales to customers within our service territory. So let Shane introduce herself and talk about the program launch. Shane.
Thanks, Emma, and hi, everyone. I know I've connected with some of you already, and it's great to see that you're here. As Emma mentioned, I'm Shane Cow, and my company, Resource Innovations, is helping City Light build a Trade Ally program, which means we're making an effort to increase Trade Allies' awareness of programs and incentive offerings, and also provide more communication and support. With that being said, I wanted to let you all know about some great new resources. Next slide. So we have some events in the near future that you may want to attend. On October 30th, there will be a lunch and learn at the Smart Building Center hosted by Puget Sound Energy, City Light, Snowpud, and Tacoma Power, where hot lunch will be served and each utility will share information about energy efficiency incentives and commissioning and controls programs. So be on the lookout for more information in your inbox. There will also be a meet and greet on November 14th at the Smart Building Center as well, where TAs can come and meet with program managers and energy management analysts in person and learn about what's upcoming in programs in 2025. Next slide. City Light is also launching a Trade Ally Hub later today on their website, where TAs can access tools and resources in a centralized location. And we'll be sending out a link to the hub after this webinar. The hub will have information about incentives and technical tools for the completion of projects. There will also be a training and events calendar where you can see information about upcoming events like the October 30th Commissioning and Controls Lunch and the November 14th Meet and Greet. This feature may not go live right away, but you'll also be able to sign up for virtual office hours, where you can meet with program and energy managers and get direct support on any issues you may be encountering within programs. And just as a note, we're planning to offer office hours on the third Friday of each month from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. And the first one is slated for next month, October 18th. And then finally, there will be a Connect with Us form that can be used to contact energy advisors and receive project answers in a timely manner. Next slide. And then to reiterate what Katie already said at the top of this webinar, there will be a survey that pops up at the end of this training. And we would really appreciate it if you took the time to fill it out. It's short and should only take a couple minutes to complete, and it helps us improve future trainings and tailor content to your needs. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar, and I hope to see you in office hours and at upcoming events.
Awesome. So a quick question for you, Shane. Will there be a hybrid component for the upcoming Trade Ally events?
A hybrid component, so part of it being in person and part of it being virtual? That's a good question. That's something that we'll need to consider. Yeah, but the office hours will be virtual only. And the commissioning and controls lunch, I think we could probably swing a virtual component there for sure.
Yeah, excellent question. Great. All right, so we have an email here. You can directly contact us at SEL_trade_ally@seattle.gov. And that will be answered in 2 to 3 business days. If you have any specific project questions or general program questions, I also posted direct program manager contact information into the chat. I did want to go back to a question for Pat Campbell. He's still on the line. Pat, are you able to come back on camera?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. So back to a question about Passive House. Does the new Wilden program supersede the existing BPA incentives for Passive House that Seattle has offered in the past? And if so, is the incentive comparable?
It will supersede it in the sense that our new program will be handling that once the old ones sunset. But yes, the incentive would remain the same. So.
Excellent. So just a new process.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect. All right. I will give 1 minute for any other questions to be posted in the chat, and we can wrap up a little bit early. I don't see any folks posting questions, so I'm going to hand it back to Katie to talk about the on-demand capabilities of the trainings and other news to share. Thanks.
Thank you, Emma. Yep, I'm just going to remind you all, look for the little questions icon in your toolbar if you have a question here right at the end. Emma posted a whole bunch of great information in the chat, so scroll up through that in the next couple of minutes. Click those links just to have them in your browser. Bookmark the midstream program stuff. I think Zach recommended that, and that is a great recommendation. And then, I don't think Shane or Emma, were you guys going to send out the link to the Trade Ally page on Seattle's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. That'll be sent out later. So we're not going to post that yet because it's not quite live. But it's cool. I've seen it, and it will link to Lighting Design Lab stuff, and we'll link back to that page. So great resources for Trade Allies. And the question but you all have about, it looks like 70 different emails to get your questions answered following the presentation. And again, this was recorded. I'll get it up on the Lighting Design Lab's website within about a week, along with the slides. So you'll have all this information available to you after we close here. How about everybody come back on camera and we'll all wave goodbye at the same time. Thank you, Emma, and oh wait, oh yeah, I see Emma. Emma and Shane about the trade ally information, and Pat, Lars, and Walker, my colleagues, and Zach and Aaron, all for the information today. And with that, we will close it out. Take the survey, guys. Thank you. Bye.